So for problem number 2, it's asking us to write the equation of a hyperbola whose foci are at 0, 8, and 0, -8, and whose transverse axis is 12 units long. Okay. This verbal description will best be suited if I go through and I actually try to graph. And I'm not going to make an accurate graph, but I want to get a sense of what the picture looks like to help me write the equation, okay? So I'm just going to ballpark it here. Okay, the focus points are at 0, 8, and 0, -8. So 0, 8 is up here. That's one focus point. And 0, -8 is down here. That's another focus point. All right. That alone gives me the idea of, well, if those are my focus points, I need to go around them to create my hyperbola. So the only way to make that happen is to go vertical with my hyperbola. Okay, so the graph has to look something like this, right? So that's the first thing that I noticed. And also, we're centered at the origin, 0, 0, I noticed. And also this distance is 8. And that's going to be the value of C, all right? So I'm going to make a note that my center is 0, 0. And that C has to equal 8. All right, now I have another piece of information here. The transverse axis is 12 units long. So between one vertex and the other vertex is a total of 12 units, which means really this smaller distance is 6 units. So that tells me that A has to equal 6. Well, if I know A and I know C, I must be able to find B. So now I have C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So C squared is 64. A squared is 36. So that gives me that B squared is equal to 28. Now, when it comes to writing the equation, I have A squared and B squared in it, so I don't actually need to write that B as a square root of 28. All right. So now I know that I have A squared in the first denominator. B squared goes in the second denominator, and it has to equal 1. The question is, which variable goes first, x squared or y squared? Now, this was a vertical transverse axis, so that means the y has to come first, and the x will come second. And this right here is my final equation. But I had to make a graphical representation to help me figure out, well, is the x squared first or is the y squared first? Because it was a vertical hyperbola with a vertical transverse axis. That's why the y squared came first.